Hey, Dimitris.
Hey boy, how are
How are you?
you?
Fantastic, man. It's Thursday.
Next Thursday. How was
Yeah,
your week so far?
yeah, it's busy, same as yours, because we're trying to make this all work. Um, I know we're short on time, so let's
Mm,
get cracking. Um,
sure.
digital brain. Why do I need one?
Why do you need one? So to understand why you need it, you have first to understand what is a digital brain, what kind of thing it is. All right. Now, what we call digital brain or second brain, or all these different terms, we actually talk about a database of information. Now, this information is not stored like raw text, like pieces of papers or just raw text we have from our context. It is stored in a way like we store the knowledge in our brains. So we actually build a network of information where we can recognize and we can build the relationships between different concepts. So in this database, we know how and what is the relationship between Boy, his company, client yield, what was the process, all this kind of context can be stored there. Now, why you may need a knowledge base or a digital brain in your consulting use case is that we all come across of tons of context every single day. New things we get to know for our learnings and study, and also conversations and interactions we have with our clients, like transcripts, emails, Slack messages. All of these are useful context. And from this context, if we process it into a knowledge base, we actually make it accessible not only from us, but also for the LLM, the internal LLM we can use in the company. So imagine like you have a big database, you process all your data from your clients. So this database knows everything about what's going on their problems, on their businesses, what is their progress, how they get grow during the time, week by week, every time you get into a task with them. And you track all of these things. So we can get into the chat with this brain. First of all, to answer on the fly questions like what is the status for Dimitris so far? What is his problem at the moment? And also run some researches in your own data. I find the most interesting thing that if you have many clients, you can run some queries to find which are similar things between different clients or which are business opportunities you never realize them, but you can find them just investigating your client problems. And it's very easy to go there because you can ask AI to search in this database.
And that is let's just say, the next iteration of row and column based databases where relationships or connections can be more easily uncovered. Because if you start looking at cell, I don't know, AZ 2021 versus cell BX1, how this brain graph will let you know that those are correlated, whereas it will take an extraordinary human being with extreme good VLOOKUP
Mm.
capabilities to find that same correlation. Is that the real benefit here?
The real benefit is almost that thing. The actual benefit is that we are free to build the relationships as they are from the context. The big difference with the SQL databases is that we have predefined relationships between our tables. So we know what is the connection between the invoice and the client. So one client has multiple invoices. All right. And that's all. The only information we can see from this relationship is what is the turnover coming up from this client? How often do they pay? And these kind of things. Okay. This is not that contextual if you want to do more deeper investigation in your relation with the client. Because in a knowledge base, what you can do is you can store information for this client, like who are their problems, what is the status of each problem, and how these problems struggle their business to grow. So you, as a business consultant, you can immediately figure it out with clear brain what is the most important problem that must be solved today, okay, and help them solve it so they can see the results and outcome of your work in the first week, and you can help them to the next one and to the next one. This information is quite hard to be stored into an SQL database. Definitely. Even if when we talk about the simple relationship of problems, you may think, okay, one table with problems, one table with clients. Yeah, but what is the exact relationship between the problem and the client? It keeps me back. It causes me losing leads. This problem causing me having hidden opportunities like client yield. It help us to recognize them on the table, on the data, and say, oh, here are some money. Let's go and grab them.
So, if I understand it correctly, and this is not how I use it, right? I use it a little differently, which is great because I think I'm only using a small portion of the capability of it. What I think I understand is the more you put into it, the better at some point the output will be, and the more helpful it will be in order to find better fitting solutions for clients of consultants like myself, correct?
Correct. Correct. The more information you feed it, is like a human brain. Think of it. Think of a brain human who get into reading and understanding very well all the best books in business. He understand all
So, yeah. So would that be helpful saying I want to organize I'm currently organized in an X manner, right? But I
Mhm.
read the book from whoever guru you want to emulate. Um, I want to build my business more along the lines of this guru. Here's the book. Can you see? And then you interact with it through an LLM, and you say, can you adjust my wording, processes, etc., to be in line with how this book tells me how to run my business?
Absolutely. But the thing is, and here is an interesting case study because I worked on something similar. The first project I was working on, and that was the first conversation we had in the past. I took 28 video transcripts from a specific YouTube channel. It was from Chris Doe about personal branding and how we should go to market. All right. And I got all of these useful information, analyze them in a specific way, and I took the advantage of all of this knowledge and created a graph database, which is a digital brain coming up of all of this knowledge. Now, the way I'm using this brain every single day is that by when I'm making content, on when I want to make some adjustments on my content strategy, my communication, and all of these things about getting in touch with my audience, I ask AI to audit my work against the principles written into this digital brain. I don't ask it immediately to consult me, but I can ask it to audit me. So it helps me to be well trained. I could definitely ask it to, hey, take this, find the best practices, all the good things in this brain, recognize the bad things we have to avoid, and adjust my work. It can definitely work.
So now we have two examples of how a brain graph, if I use the right terminology, is working. Right? It's my approach to a problem businesses have versus your approach. Any other consultant, how should they implement the brain graph to benefit their business? Any suggestions, or do you have an example that we can run through?
So our brain graph actually is the tool I created for myself initially, and then it's grown up to a SaaS tool. This is a tool that it can help any business to convert all the raw context from transcripts, emails, Slack messages, any raw text, even a transcript from YouTube, into one digital brain, storing the knowledge. And the goal of it is to make it easy to input your data into this digital brain and take the advantage out of it. So the way we can input the data is, first of all, okay, by uploading internally into the tool from the relative page, which is quite manual. I don't use it anymore. I use automations and Claude processing my data through API into my digital brain, and the digital brain is responsible to analyze them and go and build my final digital version. And then I query my digital brain through API, which is responsible to answer my questions. I can show you
Yes,
how this works.
I love visual, as you
Give a
know.
second. I'll show you here. So that's my digital brain. What we see here is just 4% of my brain. I've already have 7,500 of concepts, almost 20K connections. These are the relationships. Something to be mentioned here is that while we see those things not linked with each other, is just because of how the graph for loading purposes on the interface works. It's not that we have isolated, which means not related concepts. Everything is related in the background. So the way I'm using it, for example, is I have here, and let me show you. I have my Zaps because we can integrate it on Zapier. I have already the Zapier integration. So we go into Zaps. What happens? I have this guy right here, transcripts to brain graph. What is this guy doing? I'm using Crisp to transcribe all of my conversations, okay? So all of my conversations are transcribed from Crisp automatically. Then when Crisp creates the final transcript of my conversation, it feeds it into brain graph through API immediately. So I send the file name, the content as it comes from Crisp, and the conversation date. So I don't do anything. I don't touch the brain graph interface to upload my documents. Everything I want to be automated. And I let the automations to do the job for me. Now, the thing is, how can we take the advantage out of it from this digital brain? Which are the use cases? Because it's so fascinating looking, oh, I have this graph, but okay, what's the use of it? The first use case I find it very useful for me is this AI agent. Again, I created on Zapier. It's a meeting preparation agent. What this is doing, this is an AI process that is triggered 30 minutes before my next meeting. It's responsible to check out who are the attendees on this meeting, recognize them, and then use the two actions into my digital brain. The first one is the entity lookup, which means, okay, we have this email, Boy, for example. Let's go into the brain and find what do we know about the guy with this email, because everything is stored in there. So it finds everything about this concept, the Boy concept, who is a person, what he's doing, all this useful information. And then it feeds this outcome into the search knowledge action, where the agent uses this action to query deeper my digital brain for all those findings from the previous step. So it not only finds what information do we have about Boy, but we can find also which are the problems Boy is related with, which are the most recent problems mentioned, what is the status, which are my promises from the most recent conversation I had with Boy, and so on. And then the agent inside Zapier creates me a brief and posts that brief into my Slack channel. So I can come here. This is another case. So let me show you. For example, previously I had another conversation with two colleagues of mine, and here was the brief as it came. All the information about Ellie and Robert was posted in here, and reading that thing in a bullet point format, which helps me personally to read the context, easier and faster. It helped me to understand what's going on. Okay, this is what the concept of this conversation. Let's get into it.
So this is, if I'll use my own old school terminology, so I know what it's like. So this is kind of a CRM built with memory, right? Better memory than people, because it actually records and is able to make the connection quicker than a human brain is, right? If you hear it once, you may forget it. If you hear it 5 times, you remember it. This one remembers it after hearing it once. Sure, it will rank the output according to how often it has been discussed, but it's captured there forever, and it is just a better way of making sure that you approach the other person where they are instead of just second guessing or making an assumption, right? Because you have all the information. I would say this is better than my own brain, but that's I would not be able to do all of this. I would probably remember like 40% or maybe the top 2 out of all of the things I needed to do instead of all 20, right? So it's definitely a very handy tool. Now this is for client management purposes, right? Or meeting other people. From a business process perspective, how else can you use this? Is there a way to, I think you also integrated Cowork. Is that a way to have Cowork work together with the brain graph, and how can that make consultancy deliverables maybe quicker or more succinct, or however you see that work?
Sure. We can build the connection with Claude Cowork easily. Here are the steps we have to follow. Okay. So we have to follow 4 steps. It takes 1 minute to go. So here are the process. What it's going to do, it's going to create a config JSON file. This is just a file that it automatically downloads in our computer. And we have to copy and paste it into the folder we want to work with Claude Cowork and our digital brain. Okay. This file includes the API key. So the key is saved inside this file, and it's not given to LLM, which is not that secure. Okay. And that's important. An important step we have to follow is to go into Claude settings, and into capabilities part, we have to save the domain name of BrainGraph, which is it's braingraph.ai. Why we need this step? We need that so Claude will be able to perform the API queries into BrainGraph for your account using your own API key saved from the previous step, and get access into your digital brain. So let me open here.
What would be a good use case if you have one that we could maybe build?
Two cases, actually, both of them on my main principle, which is I want to use AI for the tasks I feel too bored to work
Answer
on them.
client emails.
Actually, for answering client emails, I still want to do it by myself for some
I was
reason.
just joking.
Let me open my Claude Cowork, and for some reason is frozen.
And this only works with Claude, right? Not with the other LLMs are kind of behind the curve still, correct?
Not really. You can actually integrate it with any LLM you want. That's fine. There are exactly the same steps, the same instructions. Just because I'm a big fan of Claude, and I find the Claude Cowork very useful for my work daily. That's why I created it into BrainGraph as an integration, so it will be very easy for everybody to go and use it. So let me restart my Claude. One moment, and I will open it again.
We have some time.
Yeah. You know what? On Monday, I had a presentation on a mastermind event. And at that time, Claude was off, and we were trying to connect it, and it was failing immediately. I said, what's going on? And a few minutes after, we received the notification on email saying, we were off.
Oh, wow.
Let me switch my setting. Replace the window. So I'm here on Cowork. This is the most recent conversation I had. I ran this integration. That was the testing. So I've transferred into my folder the config file, so we can see it here. He can see it. On this file, I have all my crisp meetings stored. So what I can do is the first thing, which I'm pretty boring doing that by myself, is to ask Claude Cowork to upload all of my files into BrainGraph. So all of my local files, all my conversations for 1.5 years now, who live inside my local machine, can upload it automatically, and Claude Cowork will take care of uploading them, and it works.
And is there a preference to do this via Cowork over uploading it separately?
I find it as the easiest way to do it,
because you can do it and still get other work done, right? It's behind the scenes.
Yeah. I can create it a task. I had a conversation with another colleague who is also a brain graph user, and he uses also transcript recording from Crisp. The problem with Crisp meetings at the moment is that Crisp cannot always recognize who is the other speaker. It recognizes you, but doesn't recognize who are the other people in the room. So it says speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4, and so on. And many tools have that thing. So if we process immediately this transcript, what's going to happen? Brain graph could get confused and create one person, speaker 2, and bring to that person all of this information. Okay, so that was a thing that we can count it as a bug. It wasn't a bug, but for me, I didn't like it because suddenly this speaker 2 was a Superman. He knew many different things, like having merged 3 different people to one brain. Don't like it. So to solve it immediately for myself, what I did was I used the connector of Crisp into Claude. I downloaded all of my meetings, mostly meetings with my clients, and I created essays, representative essays, and I processed those essays into my digital brain. And I ask Claude every time, who is the other speaker? If you don't understand it, just let me know. So the first task Claude was responsible to do it. It was to do all of this boring work for me. It took it less than an hour to complete it while I was building other stuff, working with Claude Code and so on. And when it was done, it was responsible to upload the data. So that's one easy way to handle that thing. Now, but today I was working on Brain Graph, making some improvements. And the main improvement I did was for those friends who don't want to have this middle step of making essays and so on. I created a workflow where we recognize who is the speaker 2 in this document, and we create a person information, person profile, like speaker 2 from this document on that date. So we flag it, we recognize it, so we separate this person from other speaker 2, speaker 3. And later on, if the user wants to say, hey, okay, this speaker was boy, this can immediately merge the information with the boy who was already existed. Now, that's kind of solution for that problem, but this problem comes from transcription softwares. At the moment, I remain using the Cowork, and what I can do is I can also create a scheduled task, didn't get it yet, where I can say every night at 12 a.m., download all the today's conversation from Crisp, create the essay, and then ask me on Slack who was, if you are not able to recognize. And then after my approval, I'll process all the data into my brain graph. That's fine. At the moment, I use just immediately the Zapier thing.
You use Slack for the because indeed when Cowork works behind the scenes, you don't always see that it is waiting for your input. But once you send the notice to Slack, you'll get a Slack ping, and that's then you knowing I need to respond quickly because otherwise my Cowork is being delayed. Is that the reason why you set it up that way?
It can delay. It doesn't have a problem. The reason I'm using with Slack is, first of all, there is the connector, so I didn't have to build anything around it. And secondly, I'm using already Slack. And using the Slack as a primary chatting tool with my clients, when I am out of my office, I receive the notification there. So even Claude, as a co-worker of me, can send me a notification. I can take it out and say, okay, process it.
Yeah.
So it helps me. It was already in my working life. That's why I use Slack.
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for clarifying.
Yep. So for example, just to show you here, I will get into the chat. Where is? Here it is. Let me switch my sharing. The way I'm using it,
Yep.
I will run an experiment right now. So I'm in that situation where I want to get a couple of information for a specific point, a specific question. So I will go with a tag, ask my brain. I need this to trigger an automation on Zapier. That's why I'm going to receive a Zapier response. Ask my brain, who is Boy and what is client yield? And now, for example, because I'm using Slack all the time during the day, so I needed something like, I have from the other side a person, or an AI tool that can answer my questions. So I created this thing. I trigger it with Ask My Brain, and I give it the question. And the process is responsible to receive the question, understand it, recognize which are the searching terms, boy, client yield, and the concept of what I'm trying to answer to myself. It queries my graph database and gives me back the information I have from my conversations with Boy. And here is it. Who is Boy? What is client yield? Boy is a founder of Vantum. There's a typo here. And a sales consultant with a unique framework for working with clients. He's known for struggling to convince potential clients despite having a clear logic value proposition.
Thanks.
And that's true, totally true. And all of these things come from my conversations with you so far. Only my transcripts have been processed.
Yeah, it's directionally correct.
This is what you said about you and what you mentioned about client yield.
Yeah.
So far.
I don't disagree. So this works. Now, how would this work if it was a consultant that is not like a business process consultant? Like, do they have their own methodology? Should they, or is this more or less a digital twin? Which is the other thing I wanted to ask: is the digital brain a different version of the digital twin, or are they the same?
Well, let's clarify the terms here. Okay. So the knowledge base, it's not actually the digital twin. We want to talk about the digital twin, and being strict for the term, we have to do some extra work on that, because the digital twin has to work as a live simulator of ourselves. So we know that this digital version of ourselves can represent us to the highest level of representation. This is just a knowledge base of our information. But you mentioned about the framework. And the truth is that we work together building a knowledge base that includes only a framework, the logic of it, right?
Yep.
So working with in your project and also in some other projects so far, I have to say that while you can combine in the same database, the same environment, the same thing, your transcript conversations, emails, all of this raw data with your framework, which is more strict in terms of structure, of this information, I totally recommend to separate them.
Yeah.
So we can have one database for your framework where you can work and improve it and adjust it as you want it. Because this is a framework that it shouldn't be affected immediately from your data. The live data you receive every single day. On the other database, which is another graph database, another digital brain, you can store all the live data you receive in the daily life. What you also find interesting in your case is if you try to use the framework against to your live data to recognize things, try and perform audits, try to recognize opportunities for improving your framework database and all of these things. But separating them, I think, is the best practice to not affect and perform changes on your framework which came from the transcript. Imagine explaining what is the client yield to a client on a conversation using the terms that you know. With these terms, the person on the other side of the room can understand it very well. But the LLM cannot understand it very well. So it will start hallucinating. It will just kill the deterministic results you get from your client yield immediately. And one thing I know you're pretty proud, and I'm proud with you also, is that how that LLM can bring us deterministic results. We were working on that.
Yes, but not without a deterministic step that they're not involved in.
That's true. That's true. Because in client yield, it was important to run the calculations, 127 metrics to be calculated correctly every single time, the right way.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, calculations is just formula.
Yeah.
Why not a script?
Yeah.
Deterministic from first step. And you created a nice balance between the stack. You use the right things for the right things to achieve your main goal for your product or the work you were doing.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Hey, another thing that I read. I think you said I push AI to think like me and not like a bot. How does that work?
So the goal is to use AI to start behave like you. Okay? What does it mean like you? I give you a problem. Okay? I have my data. This is my problem. These are my concerns. These are my standards, all my requirements. How can you help me? If I bring the same problem to 5 different people, most probably I will have more than 6 responses. Definitely. Okay? Because at least one will have some concerns for an alternative idea. But the thing is, every single one will have his own framework saying, okay, these are the 5 steps I have to follow. First of all, to understand what's going on in this business, which are the problems, which are the questions I have to bring, which are the questions I'm missing before I give a suggestion. And here's something important, because we forget it, that when we are all consultants, right? Our suggestions have the responsibility of the business impact to another business. Okay? So we have to understand very strictly that responsibility, because our suggestions may help or may damage the business. So we have to understand it. And that's why every consultant has his own framework, and he has to bring the right questions to the conversation.
Okay.
Right? This is very important. So in that case, I want my digital brain to bring my questions immediately into the conversation. What would Dimitris would ask? Right? Before he goes to the suggestion. Because the suggestion thing is a combination of the findings with our critical thinking. And the truth is that LLMs don't have critical thinking. They can find easily statistics, new findings, context findings, and give us the report very fast and accurate results. That's perfect. Now, the first layer is to give us the right questions, which help us a lot. And then when we talk about which are the suggestions, we can split it to 2 layers. Which are those basic suggestions, 5 or 1, doesn't matter, that by default you have to follow. By default, you have to follow. For example, when I get into a new engagement about the management of the business, the first questions I bring is, okay, which are the problems causing you money? So we're going to go and build something that will help you bring some money into your cashery. Even if you have opportunities for optimizations in terms of management, we can definitely go to do that, but let's improve your position first. That's a framework.
Yes.
After that, what is those things, those suggestions? Boy, for example, can suggest by default to that client whose score on client yield is 60%, the total score, with XYZ other characteristics by category on those metrics. By default, my friend, you have to follow that thing. Okay, by default, this is something can be sent by LLM. Then the consultant can be involved. We need it. We need at this point consultant to be involved to show his expertise. At the moment, we don't want to really replace 100% the consultant from the process. We want to LLM and the consultant to work together.
So the LLM augments the or amplifies the consultant, right? It helps the consultant come up with suggestions or solutions or questions quicker, because it's not always the solutions that you bring, but sometimes it's the questions that you ask.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? It's not about only replacing yourself. Why not to bring a team of executives with your own brain, with your own principles, understanding your business, into the same room like you, into a negotiation?
Is it like a board?
Yes. Example, when we go and hire people, we take some time to involve them into our business logic, philosophy, principles, the strategy, all of those best practices we follow. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. We spend some time with them. And for them, it's necessary to do some failures. We have to accept that. Nice. On the other hand, if we have this digital brain, what we can do is we can build a mental model of a marketing executive, a chief financial officer for us, who are going to use immediately the digital brain, where all the principles and the decision-making processes are stored in here as frameworks, as information, as transcripts, as whatever it is. It's our job to figure it out. When we work together on that business, on that project, we're going to figure it out how it has to be stored. And that's my, part of my work, to help you figure out these technical things. But what happens is you have a valuable digital brain for each mental model, which actually works in LLM, to use it. So you get into a chat with a client, and at the same time you have your chief marketing officer, your financial officer, and you can start negotiating, having them involved in the room.
So that's really powerful, by the way, because then if I they normally say, like, a startup is more successful if it's two people than one, right? But what you're saying is you can be one because you can actually have a team of whatever it is that you need, because they're looking along with you. You just have to make sure that you define their capabilities accordingly, or write the job description, right, for them to do that work as best as it can within the confines of your business. And then you are still the CEO, but you are flanked by CFO, COO, CRO, CMO, instantly, always at your disposal, instead of having to call someone and wait, they're in a meeting because they have to talk to their team, etc. So this becomes even quicker to market, quicker decisions, and this will help with, I think what I read the other day is the moat nowadays is speed, not capability, but speed. So this will give everyone speed. Am I missing something here?
Absolutely nothing. And you flagged the thing that is a core principle for me, the speed in doing things. It's most important. You know, Boy, I know you have experience working in a big bank. All right. Why speed matters? You know that very well, even better than me. How rates are calculated on loans, for example. It's an advantage based on time. The fastest you pay back your loan, the less you will be charged, right? So the fastest we deliver the project, the less costs we have for the business. So the greater we take the advantage back. So it's always about the time.
Yeah.
It's an important thing.
So creating your own brain graph, in short, where we are now, will result in XX or 10x speed, right? So you will be able to deliver more quickly to your clients at higher quality without having to consider everything or second guess or research, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get into, for example, Brain Graph and start building it immediately. Just upload things and let Claude do the job in 5 minutes. It's going to process all the documents. When each document is done, you receive a notification. That's fine. And you start taking the advantage out of it immediately. And then you can have a brain to give it to your LLMs to run the parts of the business.
That's fair. Hey, and so more operationally, I guess, is what's the part of building somebody else's brain graph that's going to take the most time?
Well, Brain Graph is totally designed for everybody who wants to transfer his transcripts, documents, emails into a digital brain, right? It is in this process of analyzing the data, it's important to understand which are the business scopes, okay? So in order to have a match to everybody business, I created my own framework analyzing the data, recognizing what is important for my business and what is those things I want to track. I created the framework tracking the timelines, project status, problem status, questions, answers, quotes mentioned, all of these things, because I think these are important for me to the next steps.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for your business, this cannot be 100% representative for your needs. Totally.
Because it feels like boiling the ocean.
It's one part of those things you want to have.
Okay.
Because here is the opportunity. We may run into the same business domain, okay, serving exactly the same services, but we have totally different business model, which means we make money totally differently. Different pipelines, different value propositions, different workflows, different payments, different everything. We're in the same domain. So the opportunity for you is to build a brain graph analysis, how we ingest the data into the graph, applying also your business model. So here is a gap. If you want to make it so personalized for your business, which if you want to ask me, yeah, it's worthy. It just takes 5 days, sprint work, where you and the team get to know how to build that stuff by yourself. It's not something that, it's designed to be done from everybody. So you give the input of your business model, and you are the only one who knows your business model because you know your business. There is nobody, technical people or any technical consulting agency, even the big fours, who can involve with you and can understand your business model in 1-2 sessions and help you build something like that. Now, if we do it the opposite, let's give you the tools you need to write down the framework and build your own ingestion analysis process for building this knowledge graph. That's done. Because you know the fundamental information you can bring into the graph. And that's fine. It takes 5 days. We run on that. It's a sprint. And you take it. That's 20% advantage from the generic workflow on Brain Graph. You can totally go and test Brain Graph. That's fine, just for experimenting, understand if it's worthy the investment for you or for the business. But always there is a layer for personalization.
Yep. Hey, and we did it in 5 days, and it was very, very helpful for my to achieve what I was going to achieve. What did the Brain Graph? What can it do today? Because you live this. You've started by using the Chris Do videos. What can it do today that even surprised you?
I processed all my last year's 2025 client conversations, right? And start chatting with Claude Cowork, asking it, list me all the client problems have been mentioned so far.
Okay.
Then I asked Claude to group them based on the tool, based on the business category, and all of these findings. And then I asked Claude, the next question was, okay, now let's see which are the similarities, which are the common problems. Give me a graph. It took me just 15 minutes of chatting, having these questions. And I realized immediately which are the main problems of people who wanted to engage with me. And it helped me to understand, first of all, who are the people who can work with me and who can trust me. Right?
Well,
and sorry?
You're easy to trust.
Thanks. You know what I found? That 85% of people who engaged with me were people who really wanted to make the things done the same day. So it was only one client who wasn't in that profile. Only one guy who ran a business. He was 1 month show on the business. He was totally clear. I explained it to him. Hey, if you run this model, I'm not that good fit for you. It's better for me to help you find another consultant, which is better for you also to go where you want to go. I said, no, I like the model of co-building with you. Oh, nice. Okay, let's go if you like it. But when we do co-building, there's some homework we have to do back when you are alone to understand those things, those new systems, and so on. But all the rest had the same spirit. We ran sprints. I had, and the interesting thing is, I'm working with a client for 5 years now. It's a very big company. It has the philosophy of every single team of 3 people is a startup, separated startup business. 3 people, not 2, 3, every 3 people. And these people meet with me once per week, giving me something different every time. That's how they scale up the business. In 52 weeks a year, they try to solve 52 different problems with me every week. And these are only the problems they bring into the conversation with me, while they get trained to other things and all. This, imagine now a big company of hundreds of employees working with separated startups in this rate. It's crazy.
Yes. Speed again, right? Speed.
Yeah.
Hey, where do you see the next? Where do you see Brain Graph grow into next? Realistic? Is it? What are your thoughts? Where does this apply, or what do you think is going to happen next for brain graphs in general? Not just yours. That to your point, but where do
Yeah.
you this applies? Is the best fit, or where do you think this grows next?
Well, we already started adapting AI technology in the businesses in all domains, even in a wide range of educational levels of people in those businesses. The next level is how can we make those things to think smarter based on our principles, right? And I see many tools and many different approaches building digital brains with local files, for example, with like Obsidian and other tools in the market, which are, they work in different way. And I have to say that it doesn't matter that it's different. It's matter that it works. It builds something for you. So go and build and use it with your LLM. Totally. So I see the opportunity of this domain coming up, and it's growing every single week. And I see the opportunity for building new things around of this environment. But we're
Such
gonna
as,
need, sorry,
such as
such as a team of AI agents, which is already up and running. Okay, and then some new tools to perform the audits and give us results. You know, we need a process where we're going to give into the chat those weird questions, the strangest questions, to find hidden opportunities from our digital brain. It took you 15 years to design your framework of client yield. Okay, now
25. Yeah.
25. Let me check my brain.
Well,
So
15 is fine. No, you're right. You're right. And then it was 3 months after you and I started.
yeah, 3 months adjusting it for the computer, so computer can think like a boy.
So what this then becomes is, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this correctly, right? So that it lands more easily. So it's a growing repository of data points,
Mm-hmm.
but then correctly correlate it with my values or my business model attached to it, and therefore whatever comes out of it when you query it will be yours and in your voice and in your angle, and that will definitely help whoever you're speaking to, whoever you're helping with. So it becomes a super fast tool which you can probably do yourself at 50 or 60% of the capability because you don't remember everything,
That's true.
but quicker, right? So
Yeah.
the output is just something that's a lot more aligned with the case that you're working on. And the case is a person and a problem, right? And all of
Mhm.
that is additional information which is taken into consideration. Oh wow, that's so from that perspective, I can only see it grow. Right? Everyone will have to, every business will have to do this for themselves, because if not, they're losing advantage, right? Because others are going to be quicker,
Yeah.
right? So the way to do this is to make sure that a consultant client uses this as well, and to make sure that all of the relevant data is captured. And Dimitris can help with making sure that that's set up correctly, right?
That's true.
In summary,
In summary, we need some clarification steps for the process, so we can guarantee that the machine, the database, can store the information in a way that we can understand the same information. It can evaluate the same context like us, so we can think like us. That's the point.
what questions did I not ask that I should have asked?
I think the question you should ask is the question you triggered me in the first conversation we had. It was, what can go wrong? Which became a principle for me, to be honest. When we get started talking about it, where you say that I want to build an SQL database for my framework, and all this, I say this it's not scalable, even if your framework is simple. But at the end, your framework wasn't that simple. It wasn't only the calculation of 127 metrics. It was, okay, what's the outcome of those? Merging them.
Yeah.
And
Weighted.
I remember you gave me the question, like, what can go wrong doing that thing? And I remember that I said that nothing can go wrong, but the truth is that you may give the wrong information into your brain. So you have to know that if your brain gives you not the expected or the best answers for you, you have to go back at the input, because garbage in, garbage out. That's an important rule. Only this thing can go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. What else? I think we're on time, right?
We are on time. Yeah. It was a brilliant conversation, man. Totally appreciate it.
Of course. Whatever I can do to help make sure that your solutions are being used by as many people as possible.
Totally appreciate it. So we're gonna chat the next week with some surprises.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thanks. See you.